This manhwa tells the story of a man titled as a disaster-class hero and his return. It depicts the emergence of monsters in the world, causing destruction to the earth. The calamity was put to an end when the 13 gods battled the demons, with the 13th god possessing the greatest power among them. However, the other 12 gods became envious of the 13th god's power and devised a plan to trap and kill them in order to seize control of the world. Can Lee Gunn, the 13th god, survive this treacherous trap? Let's begin the storyline. The story starts on the final day of the 20th century, when the peace on Earth is abruptly disrupted by a calamity. This disaster surpasses any challenges humanity has faced before. People are thrown into chaos as they confront incredibly powerful creatures emerging from an unknown civilization. Panic ensues worldwide as these creatures pose a threat to humanity. They are referred to as disasters from the unknown civilization. The disasters can arise unpredictably anywhere and at any time, affecting all corners of the globe. Human resistance, armed with modern and even nuclear weapons, proves futile against these disasters. As a result, the Earth continues to be ravaged by the relentless onslaught without any effective means of defense. However, hope arises from the 12 gods of the zodiac, known as the divine gods. They bestow their blessing upon 12 chosen individuals, granting them power directly from the divine god. These chosen ones are known as saints. Unexpectedly, there appears a 13th awakened individual who receives no blessing from the 12 zodiac gods. Nonetheless, he is recognized as one of the saints. His name is Lee Gunn. With the awakening of these 13 saints, humanity gains the ability to fight back against the disasters. On the day prior to the assault on the Demon Tower, Lee Gunn was observed having a meal with Hugo Otters, one of the saints from the Sagittarius zodiac. Hugo solemnly remarked, "Listen closely, for tomorrow you may meet your demise. The impending disaster is exceedingly formidable." Lee Gunn retorted, "Why the sudden dark tone? It almost sounds like you want me dead." "Well, let me remind you that I have slain more disasters than all 12 of you combined. Do you really think I'll perish there? Impossible." The 13 saints united and devised a plan to establish a gathering place for the most devastating disasters that ravaged humanity. This place came to be known as the Demon Tower. The following day, the 13 saints gathered at the Demon Tower's forefront to eliminate Crimson One, the leader and linchpin of the disaster. Lee Gunn, possessing unmatched strength, stood at the vanguard with unwavering determination. He proclaimed, "Let the battle commence." As the raid commenced, the remaining saints could only watch in silence, their annoyance evident, as they witnessed Lee Gunn effortlessly dispatch numerous disasters. They mused, "If we manage to slay Crimson One, we shall be richly rewarded. Lee Gunn, you must be in need of funds. Only money can restore your handsome visage and heal your wounded body." Lee Gunn also made a mental note. "In the future, I should refrain from immediately rushing to the scene when a disaster emerges in the city. We need a higher number of victims to secure substantial rewards." Within his heart, Lee Gunn lamented, "They may be called saints, but they are nothing more than self-serving individuals." During their journey, the saints were taken aback by an immense power they felt, and beheld the figure of a disaster looming above them. They recognized this figure as the ruler of the tower, Crimson Bard. Lee Gunn gazed upon him, astounded that a mere sight of Crimson Eye could evoke such pressure. Crimson Eye bellowed, and the saints felt the weight of his formidable energy. Panic ensued as the ground cracked beneath them, and Crimson Eye unleashed a torrent of fire that pierced through the tower. Filled with terror, the saints fled, leaving Lee Gunn surprised. He declared, "You all shamelessly call yourselves saints." Lee Gunn sprang into action and proclaimed, "I alone shall be the one to vanquish Crimson One." He leaped and swung his sword near Crimson's eye, successfully inflicting a severe wound that caused him to lose an arm. In this moment, Lee Gunn was infuriated by the saints' abandonment, but fortunately, he managed to slay Crimson Warrant. Exhausted, he suddenly felt a dagger pierce his back, and his body plunged into the abyss. In that instant, Lee Gunn realized that the person he thought had fled had actually stabbed him from behind, trapping him with no means of escape. He found himself at the tower's bottom, stunned by the gaze of a disaster, unable to move his broken left hand and injured right hand. Despite the excruciating pain, Lee Gunn gripped the dagger lodged in his body, stood tall, and held a sword and the dagger in his mouth. Fearlessly, he pressed forward, leaping and launching attacks. Lee Gunn continued to battle against the never-ending horde of disasters, regardless of the passage of time. In his thoughts, Lee Gunn pondered how long he had been there and the situation beyond the tower's confines. He questioned whether time flowed differently inside and outside the tower. His sole desire was to keep killing, for this place was a special trap that spawned an endless array of disasters. Countless disasters now surrounded him, yet Lee Gunn stared them down and declared, "Do you truly believe sheer numbers can vanquish me? Wait until I escape from here, then I shall sever your heads." Meanwhile, the Saints found themselves detained in a location outside the tower, preparing for a major press conference regarding the certainty of their raid on the Demon Tower. Reporters had gathered, bombarding them with inquiries about what transpired and why only 12 of them returned. They inquired about the fate of the Korean hero Lee Gunn. One of the Saints, taking the lead, announced, "Lee Gunn perished within the tower, sacrificing himself for the sake of humanity." Despite his mournful appearance, deep down, he knew it was a lie. As time passed, 20 years later, a disaster stood before Lee Gunn, visibly terrified. The disaster uttered, "This is impossible. How did you reach this place?" Lee Gunn gazed at him and replied, "Seems like you're the last disaster." And then, he eliminated him. After defeating the final disaster, the surroundings began to tremble, and simultaneously, Lee Gunn lost his footing and fell. He wondered if this marked the end of everything, and if he would finally escape from this ordeal. Ruins now consumed Lee Gunn's body in a decimated city. 2 individuals were witnessed running, pursued by disasters. They believed their fate was sealed, and that their prediction of encountering an immensely powerful monster had come true. The pair felt the onslaught of a disaster's attack, and found themselves encircled by a pack of disaster wolves. In their hearts, one of them remarked, "If only Lee Gunn had survived the Demon Tower, this class of disasters would pose no problem." It became evident that they were in the city where the Demon Tower once stood. Suddenly, light emanated from the Demon Tower's entrance, accompanied by a massive explosion. The two were taken aback as the Demon Tower before them crumbled. Amongst the wreckage stood a robust man. He began to grow and declared, "How dare all of you betray me to the point of trapping me?" The man addressed them directly, declaring, "Now all of you will die." With remarkable ease, he swiftly defeated the Alpha Wolf, effortlessly overpowering it. Trapped amidst the rubble, the 2 individuals found themselves intrigued by the man standing before them. They stared in disbelief as the man effortlessly dispatched the troublesome orange-class disaster, a challenge even for awakened individuals. Descending near the trapped duo, the man sparked panic within them. One of them managed to ask, "Wait, why are you helping us? You're human too." A smile crossed the man's face as he replied, "Well, now that the disaster has been eliminated, how about you 2 treat me to some food?" Taken aback by the man's unexpected request, the 2 individuals complied and led him to a nearby establishment. They were astounded by the extravagant amount of food he ordered, realizing that he possessed a taste for indulgence. Driven by curiosity, they inquired about the man's identity. Nonchalantly, he responded that he was merely passing through. Sensing an air of uniqueness about him, one of them ventured, "Could you be an awakener? Someone blessed by a god, perhaps?" In response, the man chuckled, "God? Why should I serve them?" He caught sight of himself in a mirror, spoon in hand, and was shocked by the recovery of his body. Examining his wounds, the man marveled as they seemed to be healing, and his left hand had regained its normal state. He noticed a snake symbol on his left hand, which suddenly reacted and transformed into an actual snake. Caught off guard, the man, now identified as Lee Gunn, stared at the snake symbol. To his astonishment, a system-like screen materialized before him, explaining that he had experienced death and accomplished the impossible. All his achievements from the tower would be transferred to a new body, and he would gain the power of Ophiuchus along with the snake symbol. Lee Gunn's culinary skills now resided within the dimension within his body. Facing the floating snake symbol, he hesitantly reached out and touched it. A radiant light enveloped him, and he regained consciousness, stumbling to the ground in surprise. Lee Gunn questioned the two individuals if they had seen the snake as well. They replied that they hadn't seen anything. Confused, Lee Gunn rushed to the mirror and let out a scream upon beholding his reflection. The system message appeared once again, informing Lee Gunn that he was now the possessor of Ophiuchus. Numerous notifications flooded in, including his status as the 13th god's seed owner, and a plethora of skills at his disposal. Lee Gunn began to analyze the situation, realizing that the changes in his body were due to the super regeneration skill. Excitement surged within him as he contemplated seeking revenge against the saints who had betrayed him and those who had stabbed him. The collapse of the Demon Tower sent shockwaves throughout Korea and the world. Reporters and investigators converged upon the ruins, speculating on the involvement of Lee Gunn's followers or those harboring a grudge against him. Meanwhile, during a press conference, reporters probed Master Yong for his thoughts on the collapse of the Demon Tower and the possibility of Lee Gunn's survival. Yong-Wai, one of the Zodiac Saints, remained silent on the matter, exiting the conference deep in thought, contemplating the remote chance that Lee Gunn might have survived the past 20 years. Yong-Wai appeared vexed by the notion, deeming it nearly impossible for Lee Gunn to have survived with his grievously wounded body. Nevertheless, if he had indeed endured, it would alter everything. At the airport, a security team greeted someone who had just arrived. "Welcome! It's an honor to meet one of the 12 saints in person." The person turned out to be Hugo Otters, who had come to meet the Prime Minister during his trip. Hugo had heard about the Demon Tower's collapse, and in his heart, he remarked, "Reporters always indulge in conspiracy theories about Lee Gunn. It's been 20 years. Just then, an unknown number called him. Hugo ignored the call, his mind still preoccupied with thoughts of Lee Gunn. Hugo recalled the previous raid on the Demon Tower. "I don't know exactly what happened inside because Lee Gunn instructed me to face the disaster outside the tower. But I was genuinely surprised when the other saints who went in with Lee Gunn returned with crimson eyes and a severed head, abandoning him. Since then, the world had hailed the 12 saints, including Hugo himself, as heroes, bestowing upon them power and strength. After the Demon Tower raid, Hugo had made numerous unsuccessful attempts to find Lee Gunn. It was only when Zhang Lui of the Cancer Zodiac approached him and said, "Don't keep insisting that Lee Gunn is still alive. It doesn't make any sense. If you're so concerned, go and see for yourself." But that would mean that only 11 saints remained. Eventually, while Hugo contemplated these matters, he received a call from the Prime Minister regarding the news of the Demon Tower's collapse. Hugo responded, "I have heard about it, but if you're asking me to search for Lee Gunn, I decline. Lee Gunn died in the Demon Tower that day." That wasn't what Hugo intended to say. The Prime Minister informed him that the Korean government had received news of an unknown incoming call in the name of Lee Gunn. This revelation surprised Hugo. Could it all be true? Stop the car now! Wait, are you saying the call I just received was from Lee Gunn? Hugo checked his cell phone again and noticed 30 missed calls. He attempted to call back, and Lee Gunn's voice left a message vowing revenge. "Good luck." Hugo was utterly shocked. It couldn't be possible, yet that voice undeniably belonged to Lee Gunn. Meanwhile, in Korea, Lee Gunn remained in the restaurant with the two individuals he had rescued. Lee Gunn looked bewildered as he remarked, "So, you call this thing a smartphone? It's quite fascinating. The world has changed." One of the individuals replied, "Yes, it's your first time using a smartphone? You can also read the news from here." The news about Lee Gunn is currently trending. Lee Gunn then noticed another news article about the will he had left for the saints. "If the news is true, I recall agreeing to distribute the treasure to orphanages and scholarship foundations. His anger flared when he read the news claiming that the 12 saints who returned from the Demon Tower were mourning his death. According to his will, Lee Gunn had bequeathed all his wealth, including the divine relic, to the 12 saints to save humanity. All the saints except Sagittarius had received Lee Gunn's legacy as per his wishes. Enraged, Lee Gunn decided to kill them all. The story takes an interesting turn as Lee Gunn converses with Justin Jai Min. During their conversation, Lee Gunn sensed a magical aura. A message from his system warned him that someone was observing him. Lee Gunn rushed outside and witnessed something. "I recognize this. It's the Zodiac Avatar. They are the direct subordinates of the Divine God." Another message from the system appeared, stating, "Subordinate gods have created a barrier in the name of Ares, weakening the other divine gods." Lee Gunn's anger intensified. Suddenly he fell silent, hearing someone call his name. As rumors spread that he was dead and gone, two individuals approached Lee Gunn. The two humans wore pins on their clothes. Jai Min recognized them. "They're Templars from Gemini!" The two individuals approached Lee Gunn, causing Jai Min to panic. "Lee Gunn, come quickly! You could get into trouble with that person!" The man looked at Lee Gunn and said, "Look at this! What's going on? Get out of my way! Why are you so quiet? Are you really angry now? If you're angry, try hitting me!" The two individuals then departed, leaving Lee Gunn behind while commenting, "Losers. They act as if they idolize Lee Gunn. Why do they idolize such weak saints?" Lee Gunn appeared annoyed and immediately turned around, saying, "Hey, cockroach!" Returning to Lee Gunn, the man attempted to speak again. An ordinary person who can't even appreciate the greatness of someone's magic. Lee Gunn, with few words, promptly flicked his forehead, sending the man flying. Jai Min was astonished by what he witnessed. Suddenly, a woman cast a spell and attacked Lee Gunn from behind. Once again, Lee Gunn flicked her away. Both the man and the woman were shocked at how easily he defeated Templar Orang with a simple flick. Lee Gunn thought to himself, "This is hard to believe." Approaching the man's body, Lee Gunn noticed a necklace and took it. "Isn't this a divine relic? But why do people like them possess it? Only the saints should have something like this." Jai Min then spoke up, saying, "It seems you truly don't know anything. Well, I'll tell you everything. Several decades ago, humans faced near extinction due to a catastrophe. However, humanity managed to survive thanks to the divine gods and the chosen saints. Since the world couldn't be protected by only 12 individuals, the saints gathered followers and established an organization called the Divine Cotter, consisting of Templars from each zodiac sign. The followers of the saints received awakening and were granted power by the saints themselves. These followers are known as disciples and are ranked based on their strength. At the pinnacle is the SSS rank, which represents a saint directly chosen by the divine. Below the saints are the SS rank, referred to as 10 stars, who are strong contenders to become saints. And beneath the 10 stars, the most powerful disciple leads the other disciples. Within the Divine Cotter, captains are appointed as disciples, ranked from A downwards. The power of the divine gods stems from the beliefs of the disciples, resulting in competition among the Zodiac Templars to attract people to their respective Divine Cotter. The chosen disciple is rewarded with a divine relic bestowed upon them as a gift from the divine gods. Hearing this, Lee Gunn was astonished and thought, "So that's what has been transpiring while I was absent. It has been 20 years. With the avatars of the area surrounding Lee Gunn, a message from the system revealed that the underlings of Ares' avatar and Gree were relishing their situation. They anticipate witnessing your victory over the man and woman. If you spill blood as they expect, they promise a reward, provided you eliminate them both." Ajus also realized the situation. No way Lee Gunn will be swayed by the avatar of the gods. They are mere reflections of the divine gods. Defying them is akin to challenging a divine entity. Lee Gunn, we should act swiftly. Lee Gunn appeared irritated. "I wonder why Ares' avatar is present in this place. It seems nothing has changed for them." Stepping firmly on the ground, Lee Gunn emanated a powerful aura that shattered the barrier of the Ares avatar instantaneously. Lee Gunn chuckled, saying, "Even though I didn't frighten anyone." The Ares avatar then fled. Jai Min looked astonished. The god avatar ran away just like that. Lee Gunn is undoubtedly no ordinary person. Hey, Jae-min, regarding that guy lying there, you said he's a Gemini student. You were mistaken. The Gemini Divine Cotter consists of influential individuals in this country. Lee Gunn grinned. Then they must have a lot of money. Their clothes must be branded. Without hesitation, Lee Gunn swiftly removed all his garments. In the evening, the three of them headed to Jae-mon's residence. Jae-mon expressed gratitude for saving them and driving them home. Lee Gunn nonchalantly suggested, "Let's go inside. I'm feeling sleepy now." Jae-mon, hoping that Lee Gunn would come home, became irritated. "Do you plan on staying at our place?" Lee Gunn proceeded inside and shaved his head. "You look so cool now." Suddenly, Lee Gunn noticed numerous disaster mosquitoes flying around. One by one, Lee Gunn killed them. Lee Gunn observed the collection of divine relics on display. This is unnatural. It's evident that disasters will occur if you keep strange things like these in your house. Jae-man responded, "Strange things, you say? I obtained these directly from the Gemini saints. Gemini kissed them and gave them to me." Lee Gunn promptly broke one of them without any hesitation. "It smells disgusting." Jae-mon grew annoyed as all the divine relics in the house were destroyed. Lee Gunn remarked, "Those bastards not only stole all my money but also deceive people with these weird items." Suddenly, someone entered the house. Lee Gunn, amidst the argument, asked about the identity of the man. The man appeared angry. "I am the owner of this house. My name is Sung Ye." He then conjured magic from his body. Meanwhile, at the headquarters of the Divine Cotter area, Yong-Wai received reports from his men. Yong-Wai was surprised by the information. "Our avatar in Korea disappeared? Those avatars were direct subordinates of the divine gods. No one would dare to drive them away. Quickly contact the other saints and see if they have any leads." "Very well, sir. I also received another report. The Sagittarius saints who recently arrived in England suddenly left England and headed for Korea." John Y. was taken aback. Hugo was Lee Gunn's closest friend. Could it be that he relocated there because of rumors about Lee Gunn's survival? Did Lee Gunn truly come back to life? Conduct a thorough investigation into this matter. Then what is the current situation? His subordinates reported that the place where the god Avatar disappeared was discovered near an unconscious Gemini, who was found without clothes. According to witnesses, the Templar Gemini engaged in a fight with a handsome man. Yong-Wai wondered, handsome man? Then it can't be Lee Gunn. Regardless of how dire the situation is, there is a possibility that Lee Gunn has returned to life. For some reason, the god Avatar in Korea vanished, and we also failed to kill the Spider Queen. If this continues, my position and reputation may be at stake. Prepare a private plane. We're going to Korea. I need to personally investigate what exactly is happening there. Meanwhile, at the Gemini Power Hospital, the man whom Lee Gunn had killed was lying in the hospital bed. "You're the one standing there. Who did this?" The man replied, "Don't concern yourself with this. This is why the Divine Cotter ordered me to move." The man was an S-rank Gemini Templar known as the First. Simultaneously, Jae-min tries to explain to Da-Sung Yi about Lee Gunn at his apartment. "What do you mean? So you guys met at the Demon Tower, and he single-handedly defeated all the disasters, causing this Gemini Templar to faint, and then he broke all the relic fronts in this house?" Sung-yi inquires, "Which Divine Cotter do you belong to?" Lee Gunn responds, "I don't need anything like that." Sung-yi appears annoyed. "What about the divine god you worship? Not those 12 idiots, but myself." Sung-yi's irritation grows. "What is her name?" Lee Gunn states, "My name is Lee Gunn." Upon hearing that, Sung-yi can no longer contain his anger. "You entered someone's house without permission, damaged the divine relics, and added your name as Lee Gunn. I can't tolerate it." Using his magic, Sung-yi summons a creature. "How dare you impersonate my idol?" Seeing Sung-yi through the system, Lee Gunn warns, "Your Templar's magic power has been activated." With his skill, Lee Gunn can assess someone's strength. The system in his body reveals, Kion Sung-ye, Templar Gemini, level awake. While examining Sung-ye intently, Lee Gunn thinks to himself that Sung Ye has already utilized high-class summons at his current age. That's truly impressive. Jai Min panics and urges Lee Gunn to escape. Sung Ye is an A-rank Gemini Templar, and he is an avid fan of Lee Gunn. Suddenly, Lee Gunn is behind Sung Ye. You might get burned if you play with fire too much. Suddenly, Sung Ye is shocked. Then swiftly, Lee Gunn flicks his head. He approaches Sung Ye and warns that if left unchecked, this fool would not only destroy his apartment, but the entire building. He's fine, Jai Min. I'll go to sleep first. He'll wake up by himself later. Lee Gunn then enters a room where he is surprised to find numerous displays featuring himself. What is all this, Jai Min? I told you that Sung Yi is a big fan of Lee Gunn. Disregarding them, Lee Gunn breaks the displays. There, my expression looks ridiculous. Just remove his head. Sung Yi appears irritated. To stop this lunatic, I told you I'm not crazy. My name is Lee Gunn. What a strange guy. Hugo, who is resting at a cafe, sees the news about an unidentified individual attacking Templar Gemini and stealing the items they were using. Hugo realizes that if someone were to do such a thing, it would undoubtedly be Lee Gunn. A maid then approaches Hugo. Hugo realizes something and says, "Stop playing games with me, Yong. Why? This is why I dislike you, taking over other people's bodies." It turns out the maid is possessed by Yong-Wai. You caught on right away. It's no longer fun to see you here. It seems you've heard about the League at its best. If you tell me... Suddenly, Yong-Wai's presence vanishes. The maid looks shocked. Hugo becomes irritated. It appears Yong-Wai is starting to make his move. I have to find Lee Gunn before anyone else. At a supermarket in Korea, Sun Yi is seen shopping with Jai Min. They discuss Lee Gunn. Jai Min suggests, Sung Ye, maybe he really is Lee Gunn. I saw him coming out of the Demon Tower, and his strength is extraordinary. Sung Ye responds, Are you joking? His appearance is clearly different. Lee Gunn is a hero who saved humanity, not a thug like him. I know the story from my father. Jai Min replies, I think you're right. Your father is part of the Sagittarius Saints. It turns out Sung Yi is Hugo's son. Suddenly, a mysterious force knocks them to their knees. The force quickly spreads throughout the supermarket. Visitors are astonished as their wallets vanish. There's no way you guys can match that speed, even with a Templar around. I've already stolen a lot. I better get out of here soon. But suddenly, the force stops. Lee Gunn is actually there and swiftly punches the thief in the stomach, causing him to collapse. Sorry, Jai Min. I came after you because I forgot to tell you to buy chicken. A Templar Gemini who was present the previous day appears. He says to Lee Gunn, You're not bad, as it's difficult to catch Templar scorpions with their agile speed. Suddenly, an earthquake occurs. Well, this is my chance to escape. With his speed, the thief runs, but to his surprise, a figure of a disaster emerges from the ground. The thief is shocked. Why did a disaster appear in the green zone? But the thief's speed is no match. He jumps, but the disaster matches his speed. His body is immediately devoured by the disaster. A massive creature appears in the midst of the crowd. Soon, the disaster dispatches its minions. A large number of disaster insects emerge from the ground. The supermarket alarm sounds. Disaster has now appeared. Supermarket visitors, please evacuate immediately. The disaster continues to attack nearby humans. It is poised to devour a frightened child. Lee Gunn swiftly moves and punches the head of the disaster. Hey kid, be careful where you step. Hurry, get out of here. But surprisingly, the number of disasters exceeds that of humans. All right then, shall I warm up after such a long time? The figure of Off Yetches emerges from within Lee Gunn's body. Meanwhile, on the other side, in the car, Yong-Wai, who had arrived in Korea, received a report about the appearance of the Spider Queen in the supermarket. Upon hearing the name Spider Queen, Yong-Wai's heart filled with panic, and he muttered, Damn, disaster has struck again. We failed in the previous encounter, even though I almost managed to seal it. I cannot face the Red Class disaster alone. No one should know about our past failure against the Spider Queen. It will only damage my position. Following the appearance of the disaster, humans categorize them into 6 levels. The blue zone is God's territory. The green zone is a safe area. The yellow zone is on alert. The orange zone is dangerous. The evacuation red zone is controlled by a disaster. And finally, the black zone is deemed impossible for human safety. In his mind, Yong-Wai concluded that if the Spider Queen appeared in the supermarket, it meant that the area was under the control of the disaster. The driver asked, "Sir, what should we do about the supermarket?" Yong-Wai thought, "Just report that everyone in the supermarket is dead, and instruct our team in Korea to demolish the entire building." Returning to the situation in the supermarket, disasters continued to emerge and attack the customers. Sung Ye, who was present, took action and froze multiple disasters in an instant. However, to his surprise, the frozen disasters easily shattered the ice prison and broke free. Sung Ye became anxious about how easily his ice prison was destroyed. Lee Gunn swiftly positioned himself in front of Sung Ye and prepared to throw drink cans at the disasters. With his dagger, Lee Gunn relentlessly tore apart the disasters. "You feeble creatures should know your place," he declared, as he effortlessly defeated hordes of disasters. Messages from the system appeared stating, "You have slain a disaster. Your god's experience throne has increased. You have acquired crafting materials." Lee Gunn was puzzled about the meaning of the message regarding crafting materials. The system message reappeared, explaining, "By utilizing the obtained crafting materials, you can forge skills and transform them into relics." Sung Ye suddenly addressed Lee Gunn, saying, "You are not an ordinary person. I suspect something is amiss. It seems you are the culprit who attacked the Templar Gemini yesterday." Lee Gunn swiftly punched him and questioned, "How did you figure that out?" "It's obvious from the clothes you're wearing and those pins, badges, or relics that are exclusive to the upper ranks of Templar Gemini." Lee Gunn wondered why he had such repulsive items on him. He proceeded to destroy them. Han Sun, filled with anger, observed that the Spider Queen was still pursuing the visitors. Lee Gunn swiftly intervened and exclaimed, "Hey, you damn spider, back off!" He leaped forward and delivered a powerful punch to the Spider Queen. Sung Ye looked on in astonishment as Lee Gunn attacked the Spider Queen without relying on a divine relic. Suddenly, a telepathic message reached the Gemini Templars. Sung Ye and Han Song heard it. It was a telepathic voice from Choi Sun Hyak outside. Sun Hyek urged, "You all must evacuate the supermarket immediately. The people of Ares plan to bring down the entire building. Yong-Wai himself is on his way here. We cannot stop him from outside the supermarket." It became evident that the Templars of Ares were mobilizing and sealing off the supermarket building. Han Sun felt a bit confused as he noticed that there were still numerous visitors inside. After a brief moment of contemplation, Han Sun spoke up saying, "All right, no problem. I have hired a teleporter for our escape. Sun Yi, let's leave quickly." Sun Yi, infuriated, questioned, "What are you talking about? Can't you see that everyone here will be buried alive?" Filled with anger, Han Sun retorted, "I understand, but think about it. If the Spider Queen escapes from here, there will be even more victims. The public will scorn the divine cotters, and the power of the divine gods will weaken as their faith wavers. We must show our loyalty to humans by receiving protection from the divine god." Growing even angrier, Sun Yi exclaimed, "So just because of that, you're willing to sacrifice so many lives here?" The two of them faced each other, but suddenly, Han Sun was struck from behind. It was an attack from Lee Gunn. Han Sun, trapped amidst the debris, got up and demanded, "How dare you attack me?" Surprisingly, the Spider Queen attacked him from behind, pulling him into her mouth and ending his life. Witnessing this, Lee Gunn and the others were left in shock. Lee Gunn instructed, "Both of you, leave this place immediately." Sung responded that the exit door was blocked due to the disaster, and the Templar Ares had sealed off the area. Lee Gunn replied, "If the situation is truly dire, then the two of you should monitor the situation here and assist the injured. I will follow after I finish off this enemy." Lee Gunn unleashed a powerful aura, causing a massive explosion. The Ares Templars outside were astonished to see their barrier shattered. Ofyak's power emanated from within the supermarket. Witnessing the immense power, Yong-Wai was shocked and exclaimed, "What is this? It's a snake!" The people trapped inside the supermarket began to escape. They panicked and pleaded for help, mentioning that many were still trapped inside. Yong-Wai, upon hearing this, was amazed. Eliminating the Spider Queen's army is impossible. I can't even defeat one. He decided to investigate the situation himself. Suddenly, he was shocked to see the lifeless body of the Spider Queen. He wondered who could have accomplished this. Yong-Wai then sensed a presence, looked outside and saw Hugo Otters already there. In his mind, he pondered, could it be Hugo who did that? It would make sense. Suddenly, he heard a voice from behind saying, "Long time no see, Geeky. How have you been?" Yong-Wai turned in shock, hearing Lee Gunn's voice behind him. Meanwhile, all the visitors had been evacuated. Hugo noticed that Sung-Yi was present and asked, "Why are you here? It's good that you're unharmed. I heard that the disaster inside had been resolved. Did you see the person who did it?" Sung-Yi remained silent, and Hugo appeared annoyed. It became apparent that the two of them were not acquainted. Jai Men then asked Sung-Yi about Lee Gunn's well-being, expressing concern that something may have happened to him. Hugo was shocked and immediately questioned, "What did you just say? Where is he? Do you know him?" Jai Men confirmed that Lee Gunn had single-handedly defeated all the disasters and revealed his name. An explosion was then witnessed inside the supermarket. Hugo wondered who was fighting and what was happening inside. A battle had ensued between Yong-Wai and Lee Gunn. Yong-Wai unleashed his strength and attacked Lee Gunn. Lee Gunn remarked, "It's our first encounter in 20 years, and your first action is to attack me?" Yong-Wai couldn't believe it and exclaimed, "How can you resemble Lee Gunn?" Yong-Wai continued, "How dare you impersonate that person? How dare you deceive someone much stronger than you? You deserve the death penalty." Lee Gunn replied, "What are you talking about?" He swiftly struck Yong-Wai in the stomach, sending him flying. Lee Gunn swiftly moved and was already behind Naya's body. With another blow, Lee Gunn slammed him forcefully onto the ground. Lee Gunn looked at him mockingly and said, "You need to be beaten up before you can listen to me. Did your life feel burdensome after betraying me in the tower? You stole the divine relic from my treasure and even forged my will. But it doesn't matter because now I'm going to kill you. But before that, I will begin by teaching you a lesson, and then I will take your home and everything you have." Hearing this, Yong-Wai looked panicked. He couldn't believe that this person, Lee Gunn, was real. Yong-Wai thought, could it be that all this time was a lie just to toy with others? Lee Gunn's punch had finally revealed the truth. As the message from Lee Gunn's system appeared, it seemed that divine god Ares was revealing himself. The Jade Emperor also made his presence known. An elderly man exuding a formidable aura began to move, effortlessly casting magic with a single hand. Summoning a chain from the earth, he swiftly bound Legion's body from above. Yong-Wai smiled and inquired, "Do I still appear insignificant in your eyes?" He swiftly produced millions of swords that streaked through the air, raining down upon Lee Gunn's body. Yong-Wai questioned, "Have I killed him already?" It was somewhat shocking for him to witness Lee Gunn surviving the ordeal in the Demon Tower. Lee Gunn, displaying his trademark arrogance, countered, "What? Your foolishness remains unchanged. You gained power by accumulating experience through my Templars, only to stagnate for 20 years. Suddenly, an explosion erupted from the Mountain of Swords, leaving Yong-Wai astonished. He exclaimed, "This is impossible!" The Mountain of Blades shattered, and Lee Gunn managed to free himself, delivering a direct blow to Yong-Wai's face. The force was so overwhelming that Yong-Wai was sent flying, sprawled on the ground, consumed by fear. Lee Gunn approached Yong-Wai confidently, sporting a smile. "You have finally taken notice of me. I am back now." "Your weapon has such a repulsive stench, just like the body of this gun," sarcastically remarked Lee Gunn as he rapidly regenerated it. Yong-Wai was shocked to witness that his regeneration rate could not match up, not even to Saint Aquarius, a skilled healer. Suddenly, a system message appeared, stating that Yong-Wai was on the verge of death and had fulfilled the requirements for the 13th skill sense, or the Science of the 13th. Lee Gunn laughed, feeling fortunate to have grown stronger once again. He suggested giving the new skill a try. Another system message appeared, revealing the surprise of divine god constellation Ares upon observing Lee Gunn. The divine god questioned why Lee Gunn was still alive. Divine God Stellar Ares trembled as he uttered, "Impossible." Then the Ares god abruptly vanished, cursing Yong-Wai. The divine power within Yong-Wai's body also departed, leaving him vulnerable. Lee Gunn smiled and remarked that the divine god disappeared before he could finish dealing with him. Lee Gunn ruthlessly attacked Yong-Wai, ultimately defeating him. With Yong-Wai vanquished, Lee Gunn intended to head to the Ares Templar to retrieve his stolen treasure. Meanwhile, Hugo, who was inside the supermarket, entered the building alongside Templar Ares. They were taken aback to find numerous deceased disasters. In front of the ruins of the Ares Templar, Hugo sensed something peculiar. He detected Master Yong-Wai's energy from beneath, albeit feeble. He wondered if Yong-Wai was still alive. Hugo took action and used his fire magic to destroy the rubble. Upon reaching the lower level, he was startled to find Yong-Wai lying there with an inscription on his body. It was evident that Lee Gunn was responsible for this. Hugo realized that Lee Gunn must be at Yong-Wai's residence. At Yong-Wai's residence, Lee Gunn entered a splendid building resembling a museum, showcasing various Ares relics and designs. He could smell the divine relic he had stolen. Lee Gunn felt delighted to have found his toothpick and, without comprehending the situation, destroyed and claimed it. The museum's alarm sounded, causing panic among the visitors. The security team swiftly surrounded Lee Gunn, demanding his surrender. Lee Gunn casually refused, asserting that the relic belonged to him. He demonstrated his power by effortlessly breaking through the line of surveillance troops. Lee Gunn's toothpick transformed into a charming creature known as Slime. Lee Gunn greeted the slime and expressed his joy at being reunited. A system message informed Lee Gunn that he had discovered a divine relic, a Class S crafted relic creature with the ability to change its form. He now possessed the skill to create God's relics. Lee Gunn suggested spending some time with Slime. As he was about to depart, he noticed a light behind a door, indicating the presence of divine god constellation Ares energy. Lee Gunn's instincts kicked in, and he smiled, realizing that he couldn't leave empty-handed. He proceeded to pilfer all the items behind the door. On the other hand, Hugo, who had been searching for Lee Gunn, arrived at the Ares residence and witnessed the chaos caused by Lee Gunn's actions. Hugo was puzzled and wondered what Lee Gunn was planning. Lee Gunn, noticing Hugo, confronted him and struck up a conversation, expressing his frustration at not being recognized. Hugo finally recognized the slime, recalling it as the divine relic belonging to Lee Gunn. He realized that Lee Gunn had undergone a significant transformation. Shortly after, divine god Sagittarius Apollo made an appearance, and a system message announced his presence. Hugo wondered why the divine god had suddenly appeared. Apollo questioned Lee Gunn's safety and whispered to Hugo, expressing doubt. He immediately aimed his bow. Hugo tried to intervene and stop Apollo, saying, "Don't do that! He's my best friend." Lee Gunn appeared annoyed and thought to himself, "I should just defeat that arrogant divine god. How dare he point his arrow at someone he just met?" Hugo made an effort to prevent a confrontation between Lee Gunn and Apollo, but Apollo vanished. It didn't take long for the security guards to resume chasing Lee Gunn, underestimating his capabilities. Suddenly, a mysterious figure leaped from the roof, and a massive creature materialized before Lee Gunn. A system message appeared, introducing Avatar Ares Pichu, and warning that all the divine relics and stolen wealth would be reclaimed by Pichu. With its imposing size, Pichu let out a roar, causing panic for Hugo. Lee Gunn decided to abandon the stolen goods and suggested making a run for it. However, Lee Gunn paused and retrieved a knife from within Slime's body. He emanated a powerful aura and declared, "Show me your true power." A brilliant light emerged, followed by a mighty explosion. The small blade transformed into a sword adorned with a snake motif. The system message indicated that the divine relic had awakened with the power of Ophiuchus. The sword now possessed a critical effect, granting it enhanced sharpness and the ability to discern the opponent's weak points through the 13th strengthening saint's skill. Lee Gunn marveled at his newfound strength and activated the 13th sense. His eyes turned black as he observed the Ares avatar's vulnerabilities. With confidence, he initiated the battle, attacking with his sword while Pichu countered with its limbs. The monster managed to step on Lee Gunn, but to everyone's astonishment, he stood up and lifted Pichu's leg. Lee Gunn swiftly retaliated, slashing Pichu's leg and causing the creature to roar in agony. Enraged, Pichu employed its skill, opening its mouth to absorb everything in its vicinity. Lee Gunn chuckled and swung his sword, repeatedly slashing the monster's body. In the end, Pichu, unable to evade the onslaught, lay weakened and defenseless. The onlookers were stunned by the tremors caused by Lee Gunn's powerful strikes. Pichu was defeated. The system message congratulated Lee Gunn on slaying the god Avatar and offered him the option to accept Pichu as his avatar. Lee Gunn held Pichu and emanated his formidable aura, accepting Pichu as his avatar. Light engulfed the area as Pichu responded and flapped its wings. Finally, Pichu transformed into the avatar Ophiuchus, becoming Lee Gunn's avatar number 1. Pichu appeared docile and could also assume a smaller form. Lee Gunn was delighted and exclaimed, "This is fantastic! I can use it as a treasure chest!" Hugo, who had been observing, was astonished by the turn of events since he left the tower. He couldn't believe the new skill that Lee Gunn had acquired. A system message appeared, allowing Lee Gunn to give a name to his transformed Pichu. Lee Gunn named it Piggy Bank, viewing it as a valuable asset. Then it goes in Hugo's residence, where Lee Gunn confronts him, accusing him, "You traitor! While your friends suffer inside the tower, you get married, start a family, and enjoy life." Deep down, Hugo realizes that revealing Sung Yin Yu Ha to Lee Gunn would only worsen the situation later on. Lee Gunn insists on learning about what transpired inside the tower, as he was preoccupied with resisting the external disaster. He discloses being stabbed from behind and thrown into a trap where endless disasters awaited him. The Crimson Eye, believed to be dead, had returned to life. However, the true danger lurked within the tower. Lee Gunn explains the existence of a disaster administration within the tower, capable of reviving deceased disasters. He fought desperately to defeat them until he succeeded in killing them all. Exhausted, he recalls dying but then awakening outside the tower with newfound powers. He is determined to confront those who manipulated him, retrieve the stolen money and divine relic, and seek revenge on the saint who betrayed him. To achieve his goals, Lee Gunn plans to craft equipment. Holding a toy horse, a system message appears, introducing the Level 1 Creation Workshop, which can be summoned as needed. The system analyzes the available materials for forging divine relics. Confused, Lee Gunn ponders the materials, and the system provides 3 options: the Spider Queen material, which absorbs magic power upon contact; the Disaster Fragment, increasing success rates in strengthening and tempering; and a divine crafting material from the Aries constellation. Excited, Lee Gunn decides to combine all the materials. The crafting process commences, enveloping the area in light. The system congratulates him on successfully creating the divine relic, named Fake Crimson Horse Class B. This relic transfers magic power from the person who touches it to the individual whose name is written on it. It can absorb 10% of magic power per hour, and is renowned for its unwavering loyalty to its owner. Lee Gunn is delighted with his new divine relic, which possesses its own consciousness and can grow independently. He sets his initial goal as establishing a business and enticing the saints with it. He then reveals the Aries Golden Class SS Divine Relic, which Hugo recognizes. Lee Gunn explains that he can store items of any size, and paying the price will double their quantity. Curious about activating the divine relic in the absence of its rightful owner, Hugo inquires. Lee Gunn points out that he is Saint Sagittarius and possesses the ability to activate it. However, he acknowledges the necessity of finding an alternative method. Suddenly, Lee Gunn remembers sending a statement to the news channel, shocking Hugo with his audacious actions. The story shifts to a presidential building in Korea, where a meeting is taking place. They discuss the embarrassment of failing to kill the Spider Queen, and someone arrogantly suggests selling success charms. The topic of the Spider Queen's defeat by an unknown person named Oliver, a bishop or minister of the Leo zodiac, arises. Sun Hyak, the transportation agency or minister of Gemini, defends their Templar rank S and takes responsibility for the Spider Queen's demise. In the midst of the heated discussion, someone enters the room and announces an emergency. They turn on the news, revealing a package containing a photo of Lee Gunn sprawled on the ground and a letter stating, "I'm back." The handwriting is confirmed to be a 99% match with Lee Gunn's. The news shocks Korea, and Hugo, who is with Lee Gunn, realizes the gravity of his friend's actions. Hugo shakes his head, contemplating Lee Gunn's declaration of war through this public revelation. He points out that killing Yong-Wai was already problematic, but broadcasting it takes things too far. Nonetheless, Lee Gunn smiles as he purchases a doll, seemingly undeterred by the consequences of his actions. Hugo's expression turned to shock as he realized Yong-Wai's soul resided within the doll. Wearing a cynical look, Lee Gunn remarked, "My skills have grown stronger due to the experience gained from my battle back then. I've also managed to confine Yong-Wai's astral body, but that's irrelevant when you see this." Lee Gunn produced a dagger and declared, "This dagger was the blade that plunged into my back. It caused me to fall into the abyss trap of the demon tower." Observing the dagger, Hugo thought to himself, "This is the weapon that led to Lee Gunn's demise. Judging by its design, it's no ordinary dagger." Continuing his thoughts, Hugo added, "If you were stabbed, doesn't that mean Yong-Wai is the culprit?" However, it seems it wasn't his doing. He knew nothing. But one thing is certain. The culprit is among the 12 divine gods. Yong-Wai announced, "I will now head to the divine relic shop." He had seen the pattern of the dagger at the shop. Hugo replied, "Then I'll entrust the management of the Ares residence, which has been destroyed, to you." At the Ares residence, a group of neatly dressed women could be seen inspecting something. Report scientists. After thoroughly searching the area, our estimation suggests that Saint Ares is not here. We also cannot detect any divine god's energy. Perhaps the one who took his fortune has gone into hiding, one of the women reported. It turns out that Yong-Wai had been in contact with one of the saints and had seen a woman in the bathroom. She was a saint from Aquarius named Sophie Marty. Sophie commented, "It would be irritating if she traded divine relics with other scientists without informing me of the whereabouts of the portly guy," referring to Lee Gunn. She added, "The Templar mentioned that maybe the news about Lee Gunn is true. It's possible that the Legons kidnapped Yong-Wai." Hearing Lee Gunn's name, Sophie became angry and unleashed her magical power on those near her. "That's impossible. Never say that again. Right now, our focus is on raising money to prepare for the Dragma Auction. We're heading to the divine relic shops," Sophie exclaimed. As planned, the story shifts to the headquarters of the Leo Zodiac, specifically in the gym area of Toon Stephen. They received information that Lee Gunn's divine relic would be auctioned at the Dragma Auction. Fearing this, Stephen immediately cast aside his burdens and smiled, saying, "Finally, that item has appeared as well. We must obtain Lee Gunn's divine relic." Meanwhile, in a location where a dimensional portal materializes, Lee Gunn and Sung Yu depart through teleportation. It turns out that it is now quite easy, although it is usually costly. However, this teleportation is free for Gemini members. In his mind, Sung recalled Sung Hayek's words, "You know, the person who killed the Spider Queen? Regardless of the circumstances, recruit him, and we will assist with everything." The two of them headed to the Divine Relic shop in a district where the largest Divine Relic auction center was situated. They began walking, and Lee Gunn stated, "Thanks to Suni, I was able to meet the Appraiser, who is an expert on Divine Relics." As a token of gratitude, Lee Gunn gave Sonia a dagger to use against bugs. "The effect of this dagger will change slightly, so don't be surprised. It's written in the system," Lee Gunn explained. They continued walking until they reached a large shopping mall. Meanwhile, the people present were captivated by the presence of the Aquarius saint, Sophie Marty. It was evident that Sophie, accompanied by her Templars, was also in the shopping area. Sophie was about to enter but was stopped by the staff. "Apologies, Saint, but the Appraiser is currently attending to another customer inside," the staff informed her. Sophie felt irritated that they would dare to serve another customer while she was there. She replied, "Actually, it doesn't matter who's inside. I'll wait nearby." It turned out that the person inside was Lee Gunn. Seeing someone inspecting a divine relic, he inquired, "By the way, do you have any connection with Mr. Lee Gunn? He's an SS rank appraiser from the Virgo Zodiac named Jin Myung." Jin Myung replied, "Myung has encountered many imitations, but this time is different. I can sense Mr. Lee Gunn's touch. People only know that Mr. Lee Gunn gained fame through battles, but in reality, he is a skilled crafter. I know this well because I am his highly esteemed student." Surprised by this revelation, Lee Gunn remarked, "I don't recall having a student named Jin." Mayan proceeded to examine the divine relic brought by Lee Gunn. He then remarked, "You are an exceptional young man. Even I almost fell for it. The touch of this hand reveals that you possess the fifth characteristic when recognized as a disciple by MWA." Jin Mayang retrieved a notebook and stated, "I believe this notebook is filled with valuable ideas. It will be more useful to you." Seeing it, Lee Gunn recollected, "That was my lost notebook. It also contains my initial designs. I was devastated when I misplaced it." The book reacted, and a system message appeared stating, "The dormant notebook responded to its master's magical power. Under Afiak's magical influence, the notebook transformed into a divine relic." Jin Mayang was astonished to discover it was a memory-type divine relic. He speculated, Master Lee Gunn must have imbued it with his skills while he was alive. Meanwhile, Sophie, who had been waiting impatiently, grew increasingly annoyed. She thought, "That appraiser had better purchase my divine relic at a high price so I can secure funds for the Dragma Auction. How much longer does he plan to keep us waiting? This is a waste of time. I need to go in and confront him directly." Sophie then forcefully entered the shop. Inside, she caught sight of Lee Gunn and was captivated by his handsome appearance. She wanted to get closer, but suddenly felt the power of Afiachi's. Overwhelmed by fear, she collapsed into a seated position. She wondered, "What kind of magical power did I just sense? It felt like venomous snakes coiling around my body. I must leave this place." Sophie exited the shop. A system message explained, "One of the direct subordinates of another god's throne holder dared to approach Afiachi's. Afiachi's absorbs the opponent's divinity. Current divinity, 35%. Lee Gunn pondered the concept of divinity and how it differed from magical power. The message further clarified that divinity is the power necessary to manifest and sustain the abilities of a divine god. It can be stolen from Templars serving under other divine gods. When your divinity reaches 0% of the god's throne, your strength diminishes and you become weakened." As the situation unfolded, Lee Gunn remarked, "This is a newfound power. I understand." He then inquired about the woman who had just entered, asking if she was a saint. Jin Mayang replied, "Don't you recognize her? Her face is featured in all the articles. That woman is Sophie Marty from the Aquarius Zodiac." Lee Gunn suddenly chuckled. "The change was real. I became more beautiful, but that doesn't mean the rotten nature has disappeared. If there's something I dislike, Sophie is a pest. She's on a level that I can't even consider human. For her, skincare is more important than human life." In a quiet alley within the shopping area, Sophie remained frightened. In her thoughts, she wondered, "Why do I suddenly recall Lee Gunn? But the magical power that almost engulfed me just now felt like Lee Gunn's." Sophie then instructed a nearby Templar, saying, "Have you ever considered that death is preferable to losing consciousness? Now I command you to return to the Appraiser's quarters, investigate the people inside, and eliminate them all." The two of them were behaving impolitely. Sophie declared, "I will lend you the power of the divine relic." The Templars were astonished. The woman responded, "Using abilities in the neutral zone is prohibited." Sophie grew furious. Divine Aquarius then appeared and stated, "Did you not hear my order? Do it now!" The Templar appeared extremely frightened and replied, "Yes, Miss Saints, our will is aligned with the divine god's will." Sophie then handed over her divine relic. Sung Yi noticed you walking in that area. Suddenly, he observed multiple water puddles. Within the water, he witnessed a creature resembling himself emerge and attack him. It seemed that others were also experiencing the same phenomenon. Sophie could be seen observing them from above. "Duplication mirror, an effective attack. Sung Yi thought. Even if Templarana is present, it won't matter. It's like a swarm of ants attacking together. They can easily overpower an elephant. Sung Yi then yelled at Templar Aquarius, "Hey, miss, stop this! Why are you using abilities in the neutral zone? Cancel it now. This is the scientist's command. Don't complain. All of this is the divine god's will. Activate the divine relic now." A surge of light emitted magical power, and the people there were instantly bound by water. Water soldiers materialized behind him. Sung Yi declared, "From this moment onward, I will handle the men in the shop. You guys continue controlling the soldiers behind him." The soldiers behind him dispersed instantly. Trapped in water magic, Sung Yi struggled to break free. "I need to destroy this before I lose consciousness," he thought. Meanwhile, Lee Gunn, who was inside the shop, was taken aback as a large amount of water suddenly gushed out of Jin Mayung's body. Jin Mayung was attacked by water magic that enveloped him. It was a surprise assault. "Don't move. It's nothing personal. But the saints find your presence bothersome. Don't even think about making a move unless you want to be drenched in blood," the Templar warned. He had been ordered to kill both of them. "However, if you apologize for your rudeness and purchase our relic designs at a high price, I can offer you some assistance," the Templar suggested. Jin Mayung, trapped and with water covering his head, surrendered. Lee Gunn remarked, "It seems you guys can't draw knives in public anymore. I never thought of using a gun in public." Lee Gunn effortlessly shattered the dagger, infuriating the Templar. A water dragon attack emerged and aimed directly at Lee Gunn, but with a swift hand movement, Lee Gunn dismantled the attack. He grinned and said, "Is that all? You've witnessed your own weakness." The Templar appeared panicked and thought, "That person is as dangerous as the saints claimed. I must eliminate him immediately." The Templar produced a divine relic in the form of a Templar necklace and stated, "Let's see if you can withstand this power. It's a power created through highly purified magic using the Summon Orange class's scientific knowledge." A pack of water wolves materialized. Upon seeing them, Lee Gunn simply laughed. "You pests, it's been a while," he taunted. "But now you're attempting to kill me." Jin Mayung said, "You said I could choose the item I like. For now, I choose this item." Lee Gunn grabbed 2 daggers and swiftly moved, slashing and slicing the wolves. A system message appeared. "You have received information, chalice of water that calls oblivion." Lee Gunn continued his assault. "These daggers are top-grade materials. I never expected to find such treasures," he exclaimed joyfully. He defeated all the wolves in the vicinity. The system message continued. "You have received information, fragment of the duplication mirror. You have received information, nocturnality. You no longer require sleep. You have received information, obsession overspray. You have received information, strong grid, 5% increase in strength. The experience of your god's throne has increased." Lee Gunn marveled at the newfound power. "This is truly incredible," he thought. The Templars appeared shocked as they witnessed all the wolves being vanquished. It was unbelievable that a being directly associated with the divine god could be defeated so easily. Lee Gunn looked at her, and as the power of Ophiuchus emanated from him, the Templar realized, "This power is insane. He surpasses his level by far. I will perish if I attack him." The Templar swiftly fled. Lee Gunn then remarked, "It seems this would make a good material, Sung." He entered the shop and was astounded to find all the Aquarius divine god avatars defeated. "We need to leave before any repercussions occur," he said. However, the Appraiser stopped him and said, "Wait a moment." In his mind, he pondered, 20 years ago, I followed Lee Gunn closely and observed him. I still remember how he obtained materials from his defeated opponents after battles. Could it be that you are Lee Gunn? "Keep quiet," Lee Gunn cautioned. Jin Mayung appeared delighted. Lee Gunn then departed, stating, "I will return for the materials. Make sure you keep them. There's something I want to inquire about. I'll come back here later." Upon visiting the Divine Relic shop, Lee Gunn and Sung Ye decided to go to an ice cream shop. They witnessed Lee Gunn devouring numerous servings of ice cream. "Our uncle sure has an appetite," remarked Sung Ye. "It doesn't matter," Lee Gunn responded. "This place seems quite expensive." Lee Gunn then revealed an item. I obtained this when the lady ran away, and I showed it to the shop owner, he explained. They promised to assist us. Sung Ye mentioned that the object was called the Insignia. You can also store rental skills from other saints, he added. If people from Aquarius catch wind of this, it could cause trouble, Sung Ye warned. Lee Gunn retorted, we can think about that later. Let's focus on eating now. Soon after, Bishop Sung Hyuk from Gemini approached them. He greeted them saying, Sonia, I didn't expect to see you here. It doesn't matter. Join us at this table, Lee Gunn replied. In his mind, Lee Gunn thought, he's a boss who keeps bothering me. Sung Ye inquired, what brings you here, Sun Hyuk? Sung Hyuk promptly joined their table and greeted them. Nice to meet you. My name is Choi Sung Hyuk, Bishop of Templar Gemini. Could it be that you're the one Sung Ye mentioned, the person who defeated the Spider Queen? Lee Gunn responded, what does that have to do with you? Sung Hyuk explained, it's the duty of a bishop to recruit exceptional individuals like yourself. Lee Gunn continued eating and asked, what are you offering to persuade me? Sung Hyuk revealed, at the upcoming grand auction, they announced that one of Lee Gunn's divine relics will be up for bidding. In his mind, Lee Gunn thought, that's my divine relic. I must retrieve it. Sung Hyuk suggested, why don't we discuss it while attending the auction? Lee Gunn seems interested. Where can we find the auction venue? Sung Hyuk replied, since the rumored divine relic belongs to Lee Gunn, the auction will take place at the appropriate location. It will be held 16 feet above the sky, the largest auction in the world. It takes place in Dragma, where the floating castle town is situated. At night in Dragma, you can witness a magnificent building floating above the ceiling. In a room, Sophie sat nervously, still frightened. People around her commented, if you're just going to give us goosebumps like that, you might as well go home. You're ruining the taste of my drink. It turned out to be Stephen Marker. Sophie felt annoyed and thought, she's still impolite, but I have to restrain myself. She's a formidable person who might be capable of defeating Lee Gunn. There's no safer place than by his side. Stephen then left, stating, all of Lee Gunn's weapons being auctioned today are mine. Don't even think about getting them. Sophie recalled the person she encountered in the shop. It doesn't matter who is down there in the shop. They can't reach up here, Sophie thought. She spotted Hugo and immediately greeted him. It's been a while. How have you been? Difficult to get in touch with you, Sophie said. Hugo became irritated and left, saying, I don't want to talk to you. Sophie taunted him. Now you do whatever you please without listening to me anymore. If you continue like this, you'll likely lose your child just as you lost your wife. I'm mistaken. Your wife isn't dead, but how else could she be? She's dead. It's all because of the incompetence of the head of your family, isn't it? Sophie continued. Enraged by her words, Hugo unleashed his fire magic, engulfing his body in flames. A massive explosion ensued. Sophie, observing him, laughed. I thought you had forgotten the deal we made 10 years ago, where an imperfect saint must understand his place, she said. Sophie gathered her strength and attempted to attack Hugo. Suddenly, she heard a voice. Hey, pest! Lee Gunn arrived and swiftly flicked Sophie's forehead. Sophie immediately collapsed, unconscious. Lee Gunn wondered, why is he at my destination? And does he have feelings for me? Why are you here, Hugo? Hugo replied, I was concerned you might get into trouble. Sophie, who had fainted, recalled her past experiences with Lee Gunn. I've always despised Lee Gunn. It's not that I fear his terrifying face covered in scars, or his violent nature that disregards your identity. If you provoke him, he will fight. 20 years ago, Lee Gunn was spotted breaking into Sophie's residence. This is Aquarius territory. Leave immediately. How dare you intrude upon this place? Lee Gunn was furious. Do you want to die? Don't you realize that those people had to sacrifice their limbs to protect you? Lee Gunn grabbed Sophie's arm. Why are you hesitating? Go and save those people now! Sophie was deeply upset. What does it matter if people like them die? They should be grateful for saving humanity. I have no intention of going there. Hearing that, Lee Gunn grew angrier and slapped Sophie immediately. Exactly. I don't think you understand human language in any way. It seemed Sophie wouldn't comprehend unless she was struck. Eventually, she was dragged to attend to the injured until they lost consciousness. I hate Lee Gunn, Sophie thought as she regained consciousness and realized Lee Gunn was already before her. Did you sleep well, Pest? Her body was tied to a chair. What is the meaning of this? Release me this instant. How dare you treat saints like this? Lee Gunn nonchalantly remarked, Lucama hasn't changed a bit in 20 years, still fond of putting on a show. In her heart, Sophie thought, I thought I was the same as 20 years ago. I will dissolve this rope with the acid from my hands and run to meet Stephen. Lee Gunn then snapped his fingers. Try it again. It's evident from your expression that you're up to something. Lee Gunn was astonished to see blisters forming on his hands. Sophie laughed. You're truly foolish. I possess a safeguard that activates when I'm attacked. Now it will spread from your hands until it dissolves your entire body. It's Aquarius's ultimate defensive skill. Surprisingly, the wound on Lee Gunn's finger rapidly healed. You're quite the nuisance. Here's a gesture from the middle finger, he remarked. Observing this, Sophie was astonished. What was that? It went beyond mere regeneration. It's cheating, she said. Lee Gunn smiled. Now let's calculate and teach Sophie a lesson to her heart's content. Hugo simply sat back, observing. Lee Gunn didn't care if Hugo was a boy or a girl, but he knew there was a motive behind Hugo's actions. Hugo then sensed something. Is it just me, or has Lee Gunn's divinity increased? A message appeared in the system, charging current divinity 40%. Aquarius, you cause substantial harm to saints. You have obtained saint class information. Unlocking divinity. Current divinity 50%. Replenishment required. Lee Gunn was taken aback. He felt lightheaded. I don't understand, but I know that striking them will make me stronger. Lee Gunn's cell phone rang. Hugo, I must go to the auction now. You can handle this woman however you want. Soon, Stephen approached Hugo. Hey Hugo, what are you doing here? Stephen emanates a strong aura of power that Sagittarius hasn't witnessed in a long time. But you don't seem pleased, Sagittarius. Hugo asks, Why are you here, Leo? Aquarius proposed an alliance, and I accepted because I also have business in Dragma. Now it's your turn to answer. Why are you here? Are you also after Lee Gunn's divine relic? There's no way impoverished saints like you can afford it, Hugo replied. You took pleasure in collecting his divine relics. How powerful do you think you can become by gathering them all? Stephen added angrily. A massive explosion occurred, and Hugo also displayed his strength. As usual, he was fixated on talking about Lee Gunn. The two confronted each other, and Stephen initiated an attack, managing to restrain Hugo's hand. Don't speak of Lee Gunn in front of me again. Hugo appeared to be in great pain. Divine God. Leo then materialized with a piercing gaze. The current me is stronger than Lee Gunn. Soon, someone entered and addressed Mr. Stevens, saying, It's an emergency, sir. Gem, I've acquired the divine relic. Stephen heard that and panicked. What did you say? He let Hugo go. I don't have time to talk to you. Take care of Aquarius as you please. The auction is more important. This is advice from an old friend. If you want to live long, mind your words, Stephen replied. Thank you for the advice, Hugo retorted. In his heart, Hugo muttered, Damn, so that means I'm beneath weaklings. Observing Hugo pondering his strength in the VIP room where Lee Gunn was present with the Templars from Gemini, Sung Hyuk and Sung Ye were also seen there. The auctioneer announced, Once again, Divine Relic Lee Gunn has been won by Gemini. This concludes the first part of the auction. The second part will commence after the break. For a moment, Lee Gunn stated, You are too kind, Bishop. First, you grant me access to the VIP room, and now you purchase whatever I desire. Sung Hyek responded, It was only fitting to go this far for a remarkable individual like you. Sung Ye asked the bishop, Is it acceptable for us to spend such a large sum of money? Lee Gunn then produced something. Don't concern yourselves with the issue of money. I've already settled the bill. It appeared Sung Hyek was already intoxicated, so Lee Gunn helped himself. Sung Hyek wondered, Since when did he pick it up? He's young but quite audacious. Nonetheless, he's the super rookie who slew the Spider Queen. As long as he utilizes it wisely, drinks aren't a problem. Returning to the main topic, I have high expectations for you. You possess the potential to reach S rank and even surpass it, Sung Hyuk stated as he displayed his skill. Realizing it inwardly, Lee Gunn remarked, "This is a subtle form of manipulation that most people can't perceive. The effect may not be substantial, but it convinces others of his words." Sung Hyuk resumed speaking, "I believe you can have it all. Let us be great Templars of Gemini together." Upon hearing that, Lee Gunn even chuckled. "So you're asking me to be a flatterer?" At that moment, divine god Lee Gunn emanated a powerful aura. Sung Hyuk panicked. "Despite all the praise I've given him, why is he angry? This cannot continue. Let's change the subject." Shortly after, the auctioneer entered to deliver the purchased items. They could see a divine relic in the form of a necklace. "You mentioned that I can obtain whatever I desire. Actually, this is not what I was seeking, but it's still a useful item," Lee Gunn commented. Then, a massive explosion demolished the door. They were all suddenly startled. "Who dares to tamper with the divine relic?" Lee Gunn observed. "Damn, it's Steven. So he was also after the divine relic." Sung Hyuk immediately approached him and said, "Apologies, Mr. Steven. It was the fault of our rookie, who was unaware of a few things. I will return it immediately." Steven retorted, "Thanks, as it didn't cost me anything." "Excuse me, sir, perhaps you can compensate us a little." Steven then grew furious. "What did you say? You won't get away with touching my belongings now?" Steven clutched his head, and Sung Hyuk trembled, appearing resigned. "Damn, he exploited our mistakes to extort tens of millions of dollars from us," Steven expressed. Lee Gunn then declared, "Enough with the nonsense. I've already won this. This item belongs to me. If you want it, you'll have to pay more than $200 million. Sung Hyuk asked, "Are you trying to ruin yourself? Don't you know who Steven really is?" Steven chuckled. "Seems like Gemini has individuals with great courage. I like you. At least a man should possess that much bravery. I don't believe our encounter is a coincidence. Why don't we introduce ourselves? When Steven meets someone he likes, he extends a warm welcome. Beware, it can sting." Steven unleashed lightning magic, but Lee Gunn simply laughed. In his heart, Lee Gunn remarked, "This guy has managed to enhance his skills a bit. Suitable for the Leo constellation, skilled in combat. His fighting spirit is incomparable to Aquarius and Aries." With his skills, Steven attacked Lee Gunn, but to his surprise, he could only grasp Lee Gunn's shoulder. Lee Gunn taunted, "What are you doing? Do you want to brush off my shoulder?" Suddenly, Steven was astonished. What happened? The skill should have hit him. Did he transfer his skills through teleportation? Lee Gunn then removed his hand. "You're nothing but brains and muscles. You learned from me, vowing to use it to save humanity, but instead, you showcase your strength." Hearing that, Steven was shocked. "How do you know who I truly am?" Not long after, a voice was heard. "The main event of this auction, awaited by everyone, is about to commence." Upon hearing this, Steven halted his attack. It was time to present the item he desired. "There are many questions for you, but this one is crucial. You better hold on to the necklace. I'll reclaim it after the auction concludes. The main event of the auction is commencing. Let today's spectacle begin," Steven confidently stated, wearing a smile. The auctioneer announced, "Do you recall the Berlin Walk incident 24 years ago? It was a veritable hell where all weapons and armor melted. Red's efforts were in vain, but the hero Lee Gunn emerged and vanquished disaster. What we're auctioning today is the weapon used by Lee Gunn to defeat disaster in Berlin." Steven smiled. "I remember the incident because I was there too." Memories of the incident from 20 years ago resurfaced in his mind. The Templar inquired, "Master Steven, can't we do anything but wait?" Steven replied, "We've reached our limit. We can't enter that poisonous forest. We'll perish. How did Lee Gunn manage to enter and fight disaster? Why do I feel this way because of someone who didn't even receive the blessings of the divine God? What sets me apart from him? The gap is vast. What strengths and skills am I lacking?" Soon, the Templar remarked, "Mr. Steven, look at that. Lee Gunn emerged unscathed. In the end, Lee Gunn became the savior of humanity. Now I understand that the only thing I lack compared to Lee Gunn is a weapon. I must acquire a formidable weapon," Steven pondered. Returning to the auction scene, the official announced, presenting one of Lee Gunn's 8-grid divine relics used during the Berlin Walk. Stephen smiled. The weapon I've been seeking has finally appeared, the divine relic that will make me the most powerful figure. The auctioneer opened it, and everyone beheld a colossal bone. It is the strongest divine relic with historical value, a masterpiece. Now who will be the new owner? Let the auction commence. Bidding began at $1 million. Witnessing this, Sun Yi and Sun Hyuk grew restless. This is unbelievable. Will Stephen acquire the divine relic? Sun Hyuk questioned. Do something. Bishop contacted headquarters. Lee Gunn, observing the proceedings, remained calm. He remarked, if he does, let him use it first. However, it was just a bone, and multiple individuals started bidding. $5 million, $10 million. Suddenly, a message appeared in his system. Your item is being glorified. All of his skills had undergone a sudden enhancement. Lee Gunn pondered, why are people so excited? Sun Yi replied, there's a reason for their excitement. Whatever Lee Gunn creates is of high quality. Anyone interested in divinity would undoubtedly desire it, particularly Stephen Marker. He travels the world collecting relic designs for Lee Gunn. He's willing to spend a fortune, and the profits from the sale will go to Lee Gunn's government-held account. So, I'm content with that. Lee Gunn, upon hearing this, was taken aback. He now appeared quite pleased. I don't care who purchased it, he declared, relaxing as he awaited the funds to enter his account. Stephen then proclaimed, 1 billion. Everyone was suddenly astonished. He began walking. Didn't you hear me? I'll buy it for 1 billion. And if that's not enough, I'll buy it for 10 billion. No one else could place a bid. All right, it's settled. Big Bone sells for 1 billion, the auctioneer announced. Meanwhile, outside the building, a mysterious figure observed the situation. It's the divine relic. I can sense it. If you could subscribe right now, you really help this channel to achieve our goal 1,000 subscribers, and then we will make coolest manhwa for you each day. Thanks for watching and see you in a bit.